which encompasses manufacturing and services with a focus on MSMEs numbering 5.7 crores. Currently, over 1 crore registered MSMEs, employing 7.5 crore people and generating 36% of our manufacturing have come MSMEs to position India as a global manufacturing hub, and generating 36% of our manufacturing have come together to position India as a these MSMEs are responsible for 45% of our quality products to help them achieve higher efficiencies of scale. These MSMEs are responsible for and better access to capital of our exports. The investment and turnover limits for higher efficiencies of all MSMEs will be enhanced to 2.5 and 2 times respectively. The investment and turnover limits for classifications to grow of all and generate and will be enhanced for our youth to 2.5 and 2 times respectively. This will give them the confidence to grow and generate employment. Credit guarantee cover will be enhanced. The details are given in Annex for micro and small enterprises from 5 crore to 10 access to credit. The credit guarantee cover will be enhanced of 1.5 lakh crores first in the next for 5 micro years. And small enterprises from 5 crore to 10 crore rupees, for leading to additional 10 crore rupees to 20 lakh crores in the guarantee fee being moderated to 1% for loans. Second, 27 for focus sectors from 10 crore rupees to 20 crore rupees, with the guarantee fee being moderated to 1% for loans MSMEs. 27 for term loans which are important for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Also and for the micro enterprises, for well-run we will introduce MSMEs customized credit cards for term loans with a 5 lakh rupee limit crore for micro enterprises registered also on for the micro enterprises. We will introduce customized credit cards in the first year with a 5 lakh rupee limit will be issued for micro enterprises. Fund of registered on Udyam portal. The alternate in the investment fund in the first year, 10 lakh such cards have received commitments of more than 91,000 crores. These are supported by the fund of funds set up with the Government of India for startups have received commitments of more than 91,000 crores. A new fund of funds rupees with expanded these are supported by the fund of funds contribution of Government of India's 10,000 crore rupees will be set up. Now, a new fund of funds with expanded a new scheme and a fresh will be launched of another 10,000 crore rupees will scheduled be set caste and scheduled tribes, first-time entrepreneurs. This will provide term loans will be launched 2 crore rupees during the next 5 years. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. The scheme will incorporate lessons from the successful Stand-Up India scheme up to 2 crore online capacity during the next entrepreneurship and managerial skills will our government will undertake specific policy and facilitation measures to enhance the productivity, quality, and competitiveness of India's footwear and leather sector. A focused product scheme will be implemented. The scheme will support design capacity, component manufacturing, and machinery required for production of non-leather quality footwear, besides the support for leather footwear and products. The scheme is expected to facilitate employment for 22 lakh persons, generate over 4 lakh crore rupees, and exports of over 1.1 lakh crore rupees. Measures for the toys sector. Building on the National Action Plan for Toys, we will implement a scheme to make India a global hub for toys. The scheme will focus on development of clusters, skills, and a manufacturing ecosystem that will create high-quality, unique, innovative, and sustainable toys that will represent the Made in India brand. Support for food processing. In line with our commitment towards Purvodaya, we will establish a National Institute of Food Technology, Entrepreneurship and Management in Bihar. The institute will provide a strong fillip to food processing activities in the entire eastern region. This will result in 1. Enhanced income for the farmers through value addition to their produce, and 2. Skilling entrepreneurship and employment opportunities for the youth. Manufacturing mission, furthering Make in India. Our government will set up a national manufacturing mission covering small, medium and large industries for furthering Make in India by providing policy support, execution roadmaps, governance and monitoring framework for central ministries and states. Details are in Annexure E. Given our commitment to climate-friendly development, the mission will also support clean tech manufacturing. This will aim to improve domestic value addition and build our ecosystem for solar PV cells, EV batteries, motors and controllers, electrolyzers, wind turbines, very high voltage transmission equipment and grid-scale batteries. Investment as the third engine. Now I move to investment as the third engine, which encompasses investing in people, investing in the economy, and investing in innovation. Investing in people. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0. Saksham Anganwadi and Poshan 2.0 program provides nutritional support to more than 8 crore children, 1 crore pregnant women and lactating mothers all over the country, and about 20 lakh adolescent girls in aspirational districts and the Northeast region. The cost norms for these nutritional support will be enhanced appropriately. Atal Tinkering Labs. 50,000 Atal Tinkering Labs will be set up in government schools in the next 5 years to cultivate the spirit of curiosity and innovation and foster a scientific temper among young minds. Broadband connectivity to government secondary schools and PHCs. Broadband connectivity will be provided to all government secondary schools and primary health centers in rural areas under the BharatNet project. Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak Scheme. We propose to implement a Bharatiya Bhasha Pustak scheme to provide digital form Indian language books for schools and for higher education. This aims to help students understand their subjects better and in their language. National Centers of Excellence for Skilling. Building on the initiative announced in the July 24 budget, 5 national centers of excellence for skilling will be set up with global expertise and partnerships to equip our youth with the skills required for Make for India, Make for the World manufacturing. The partnership will cover curriculum design, training of trainers, and a skills certification framework and periodic reviews. Expansion of capacity in IITs. Total number of students in 23 IITs has increased 100% from 65,000 to 1.35 lakh in the past 10 years. Additional infrastructure will be created in the 5 IITs started after 2014 to facilitate education for 6,500 more students. Hostel and other infrastructure capacity at IIT Patna will also be expanded. Center of Excellence. Center of Excellence in AI for Education. and announced 3 centers of excellence in artificial intelligence for agriculture, health, and sustainable cities in 2023. Now a center of excellence in artificial intelligence for education will be set up with a total outlay of 500 crores. Expansion of medical education. Our government has added almost 1.1 lakh undergraduate and postgraduate medical education seats in 10 years, an increase of 130%. In the next year, 10,000 additional seats will be added in medical colleges and hospitals towards the goal of adding 75,000 seats in the next 5 years. Daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals. Our government will facilitate setting up of daycare cancer centers in all district hospitals in the next 3 years. 200 centers will be established in 25-26 itself. Strengthening urban livelihoods. Our government has been giving priority to assisting urban poor and vulnerable groups. A scheme for socio-economic upliftment of urban workers will be implemented to help them improve their incomes, have sustainable livelihoods, and a better quality of life. PM Swanidhi scheme has benefited more than 68 lakh street vendors, giving them respite from high-interest informal sector loans. Building on this success, the scheme will be revamped with enhanced loans from banks, UPI-linked credit cards with 30,000 rupees limit, and capacity building support. Social Security Scheme for welfare of online platform workers. Gig workers of online platforms provide great dynamism to the new age services economy. Recognizing their contribution, our government will arrange for their identity cards and registration on the e-Shram portal. They will be provided health care under PM Jan Arogya Yojana. This measure is likely to assist nearly 1 crore gig workers. Investing in the economy. Public-private partnership in infrastructure. Each infrastructure-related ministry will come up with a 3-year pipeline of projects that can be implemented in PPP mode. States will also be encouraged to do so and can seek support from the India Infrastructure Project Development Fund, which is a scheme to prepare PPP proposals. Support to states for infrastructure. An outlay of 1.5 lakh crore is proposed for the 50-year interest-free loans to states for capital expenditure and incentives for reforms. Building on the success of the first asset monetization plan announced in 2021, the second plan for 2025 to 30 will be launched to plow back capital of 10 lakh crore in new projects. Regulatory and fiscal measures will be fine-tuned to support the plan. Jal Jeevan Mission. Since 2019, 15 crore households representing 80% of India's rural population have been provided access to portable tap water connections. To achieve 100% coverage, I am pleased to announce the extension of this mission until 2028 with an enhanced total outlay. The mission's focus will be on the quality of infrastructure and O&M of rural piped water supply schemes through Jan Bhagidari. A separate MOU or separate MOUs will be signed with the states and union territories to ensure sustainability and citizen-centric water services delivery. Urban sector reforms. Building on the July budget proposals, Urban sector reforms related to governance, municipal services, urban land, and planning will be incentivized. Urban Challenge Fund. The government will set up an Urban Challenge Fund of 1 lakh crore rupees to implement the proposals for cities as growth hubs, creative redevelopment of cities, and for water and sanitation purposes announced in the July budget. This fund will finance up to 25% of the cost of bankable projects, with a stipulation that at least 50% of the cost is funded from bonds, bank loans, and PPPs. An allocation of 10,000 crore is proposed in 2025-26. Power sector reforms. We will incentivize electricity distribution reforms and augmentation of intra-state transmission capacity by states. This will improve financial health and capacity of electricity companies. Additional borrowing of 0.5% of GSDP will be allowed to states contingent on these reforms. Nuclear energy mission for Vikasit Bharat. Development of at least 100 gigawatt of nuclear energy by 2047 is essential for our energy transition efforts. For an active partnership with the private sector towards this goal, amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act will be taken up. A nuclear energy mission for research and development of small modular reactors with an outlay of 20,000 crore will be set up. At least 5 indigenously developed small modular reactors will be operationalized by 2033. Shipbuilding. The shipbuilding financial assistance policy will be revamped to address cost disadvantages. This will also include credit notes for shipbreaking in Indian yards to promote the circular economy. Large ships above a specified size will be included in the infrastructure harmonized master list. Shipbuilding clusters will be facilitated to increase the range, categories, and capacity of ships. This will include additional infrastructure, facilities, skilling, and technology to develop the entire ecosystem. Maritime Development Fund. For long-term financing for the maritime industry, a Maritime Development Fund with a corpus of 25,000 crore rupees will be set up. This will be for distributed support and promoting competition. This will have up to 49% contribution by the government, and the balance will be mobilized from ports and from private sector. UDAN regional connectivity schemes. UDAN has enabled 1.5 crore middle-class people to meet their aspirations for speedier travel. The scheme has connected 88 ports, airports, and operationalized 619 routes. Inspired by that success, a modified UDAN scheme will be launched to enhance regional connectivity to 120 new destinations and carry 4 crore passengers in the next 10 years. 4 crore additional passengers in the next 10 years. The scheme will also support helipads and smaller airports in hilly, aspirational, and northeast regional districts. Greenfield airports will be facilitated in Bihar to meet the future needs of the state. These will be addition to the expansion of the capacity of Patna Airport and a brownfield airport in Beta. Western Kosi Canal project in Mithilanchal. Financial support will be provided for the Western Kosi Canal ERM project, benefiting a large number of farmers cultivating over 50,000 hectares of land in the Mithilanchal region of Bihar. Mining sector reforms. Mining sector reforms, including those for minor minerals, will be encouraged through sharing of best practices and institutions of a state mining index. A policy for recovery of critical minerals from tailings will be brought out. Under the special window for affordable and mid-income housing, SWAMI, 50,000 dwelling units in stressed housing projects have been completed and keys handed over to home buyers. Another 40,000 units will be completed in 2025, further helping middle-class families who are paying EMIs on loans taken for apartments while also paying rent for their current dwellings. Building on this success, SWAMI Fund 2 will be established as a blended finance facility with contribution from the government, banks, and private investors. This fund of 15,000 crore rupees will aim for expeditious completion of another 1 lakh units. PM Gati Shakti data for private sector. For furthering PPPs and assisting the private sector in project planning, access to relevant data and maps from the PM Gati Shakti portal will be provided. Tourism for employment-led growth. Top 50 tourist destination sites in the country will be developed in partnership with states through a challenge mode. Land for building key infrastructure will have to be provided by the states. Hotels in these destinations will be included in the infrastructure harmonized list. The following measures will be taken for facilitating employment-led growth. Organizing intensive skill development programs for our youth, including in institutes of hospitality management. Providing mudra loans for homestays. Improving ease of travel and connectivity to tourist destinations. Providing performance-linked incentives to states for effective destination management, including tourist amenities, cleanliness, and marketing efforts. And introducing streamlined e-visa facilities along with visa fee waivers for certain tourist groups. Continuing with the emphasis on places of spiritual and religious significance in the July budget, there will be a special focus on destinations related to the life and times of Lord Buddha. Medical tourism and heal in India. Medical tourism and heal in India will be promoted in partnership with the private sector along with capacity building and easier visa norms. Investing in innovation. To implement private sector-driven research, development, and innovation initiatives announced in the July budget, I am now allocating 20,000 crore rupees for this purpose. A deep tech fund of funds will also be explored to catalyze the next generation startups as a part of this initiative. In the next 5 years, under the PM Research Fellowship Scheme, we will provide 10,000 fellowships for technological research in IITs and IISc with enhanced financial support. The second gene bank with 10 lakh germplasm lines will be set up for future food and nutritional security. This will provide conservation support to both public and private sectors, for genetic resources. We will start a national geospatial mission to develop foundational geospatial infrastructure and data. Using PM Gati Shakti, this mission will facilitate modernization of land records, urban planning, and design of infrastructure projects. A Gyan Bharatam mission for survey, documentation, and conservation of our manuscript heritage with academic institutions, museums, libraries, and private collectors will be undertaken to cover more than 1 crore manuscripts. We will set up a national digital repository of Indian knowledge systems for knowledge sharing. Now I move to exports as the fourth engine. We will set up an export promotion mission with sectoral and ministerial targets driven jointly by the Ministries of Commerce, MSME, and Finance. It will facilitate easy access to export credit, cross-border factoring support, support to MSMEs to tackle non-tariff measures in overseas markets. A digital public infrastructure, Bharat Trade Net, for international trade will be set up as a unified platform for trade documentation and financing solutions. This will complement the Unified Logistics Interface platform. The BTN will be aligned with international practices. Support will be provided to develop domestic manufacturing capacities for our economy's integration with global supply chains. Sectors will be identified based on objective criteria. Facilitation groups with participation of senior officers and industry representatives will be formed for select products and supply chains. Through this, there are huge opportunities related to Industry 4.0, which needs high skills and talent. Our youth have both. Our government will support the domestic electronic equipment industry to leverage this opportunity for the benefit of our youth. A national framework will be formulated as guidance to states for promoting global capability centers in emerging Tier 2 cities. This will suggest measures for enhancing availability of talent and infrastructure, building bylaw reforms, and mechanisms for collaboration with industry. Our government will facilitate upgradation of infrastructure and warehousing for air cargo, including high-value perishable horticultural produce. Cargo screening and customs protocol will be streamlined and made user-friendly. Reforms as the fuel. Over the past 10 years, our government has implemented several reforms for convenience of taxpayers, such as faceless assessment, 2, taxpayer charter, 3, faster returns, 4, almost 99% returns being on self-assessment, and 5, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Continuing these efforts, I reaffirm the commitment of the Tax Department to trust first, scrutinize later. I also propose to introduce the new income tax bill next week. I will detail the indirect tax reforms and changes in direct taxes in Part B. Financial sector reforms. The FDI limit for the insurance sector will be raised from 74 to 100%. This enhanced limit will be available for those companies which invest the entire premium in India. The current guardrails and conditionalities associated with foreign investment will be reviewed and simplified. The services of India Post Payment Bank will be deepened and expanded in rural areas. NABFID will set up a partial credit enhancement facility for corporate bonds for infrastructure. Public sector banks will develop Grameen Credit Score Framework to serve the credit needs of SHG members and people in rural areas. A forum for regulatory coordination and development of pension products will be set up. To implement the earlier announcement on simplifying the KYC processes, the revamped Central KYC Registry will be rolled out in 2025. We will also implement a streamlined system for periodic updating. Requirements and procedures for speedy approval of company mergers will be rationalized. The scope for fast-track mergers will also be widened and the process made simpler. As proposed in the interim budget, we signed bilateral investment treaties with 2 countries in 2024 to encourage sustained foreign investment, and in the spirit of First Develop India, the current model BIT will be revamped and made more investor-friendly. In the last 10 years, in several aspects, including financial and non-financial, our government has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to ease of doing business. We are determined to ensure that our regulations must keep up with technological innovations and global policy developments. A light touch regulatory framework based on principles and trust will unleash productivity and employment. Through this framework, we will update regulations that were made under old laws. To develop this modern, flexible, people-friendly, and trust-based regulatory framework appropriate for the 21st century, I propose 4 specific measures. A high-level committee for regulatory reforms will be set up for a review of all non-financial sector regulations, certifications, licenses, and permissions. The committee will be expected to make recommendations within a year. The objective is to strengthen trust-based economic governance and take transformational measures to enhance ease of doing business, especially in matters of inspection and compliances. States will be encouraged to join in this endeavor. An investment friendliness index of states will be launched in 2025 to further the spirit of competitive, cooperative federalism. Under the Financial Stability and Development Council, a mechanism will be set up to evaluate impact of the current financial regulations and subsidiary instructions. It will also formulate a framework to enhance their responsiveness and development of the financial sector. In the Jan Vishwas Act 2023, more than 180 legal provisions were decriminalized. Our government will now bring up the Jan Vishwas Bill 2.0 to decriminalize more than 100 provisions in various laws. I now move to fiscal policy. In the July budget, I had committed to staying the course for fiscal consolidation. Our endeavor will be to keep the fiscal deficit each year such that central government debt remains on a declining path as a percentage of the GDP. The roadmap for the next 6 years has been detailed in the FRBM statement. Revised estimates for 2024-25. The revised estimate of the total receipts other than borrowings is 31.47 lakh crore rupees, of which the net tax receipts are 25.57 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the total expenditure is 47.16 lakh crore rupees, of which the capital expenditure is about 10.18 lakh crore rupees. The revised estimate of the fiscal deficit is 4.8% of the GDP. Budget estimates for 25-26. Coming to 25-26, the total receipts other than borrowings and total expenditure are estimated at 34.96 lakh crore rupees and 50.65 lakh crore rupees respectively. The net tax receipts are estimated at 28.37 lakh crore rupees. The fiscal deficit is estimated to be 4.4% of GDP. To finance the fiscal deficit, the net market borrowings from dated securities are estimated at 11.54 lakh crore. The balance financing is expected to come from small savings and other sources. The gross market borrowings are estimated at 14.82 lakh crore rupees. I will now move to Part B. Indirect taxes. My proposals relating to customs aim to rationalize tariff structure and address duty inversion. These will also support domestic manufacturing and value addition, promote exports, facilitate trade, and provide relief to common people. Rationalization of customs tariff structure for industrial goods. As a part of comprehensive review of customs rate structure announced in July 2024 budget, I propose to 1. Remove 7 tariff rates. This is over and above the 7 tariff rates removed in 23-24 budget. After this, there will be only 8 remaining tariff rates, including 0 rate. 2. Apply appropriate cess to broadly maintain effective duty incidence, except on a few items where such incidence will reduce marginally. 3. Levy not more than 1 cess or surcharge. Therefore, I propose to exempt social welfare surcharge on 82 tariff lines that are subject to a cess. I shall now take up sector-specific proposals. To provide relief to patients, particularly those suffering from cancer, rare diseases, and other severe chronic diseases, I propose to add 36 life-saving drugs and medicines to the list of medicines fully exempted from basic custom duty. I also propose to add 6 life-saving medicines to the list attracting concessional custom duty of 5%. Full exemption and concessional duty will also respectively apply on the bulk drugs for manufacture of the above. Specified drugs and medicines under patient assistance programs run by the pharmaceutical companies are fully exempt from BCD, provided the medicines are supplied free of cost to the patients. I propose to add 37 more medicines along with 13 new patient assistance programs. Support to domestic manufacturing and value addition. Critical minerals. In the July 2024 budget, I had fully exempted BCD on 25 critical minerals that are not domestically available. I had also reduced BCD of 2 other such minerals to provide a major fillip to their processing, especially by MSMEs. Now, I propose to fully exempt cobalt powder and waste, the scrap of lithium-ion battery, lead, zinc, and 12 more critical minerals. This will help secure the availability for manufacturing in India and promote more jobs for our youth. To promote domestic production of technical textile products such as agro-textiles, medical textiles, and geotextiles at competitive prices, I propose to add 2 more types of shuttle-less looms to the list of fully exempted textile machinery. I also propose to revise the BCD rate on knitted fabrics covered by 9 tariff lines from 10 or 20 to to 20% or 115 rupees per kg, whichever is higher. Electronic goods. In line with our Make in India policy and to rectify inverted duty structure, I propose to increase the BCD on interactive flat panel display from 10% to 20% and reduce the BCD to 5% on open cell and other components. In 23-24 budget, for the manufacture of open cells of LCD, LED TVs, I had reduced the BCD on parts of open cells from 5% to 2.5%. To further boost the manufacture of such open cells, the BCD on these parts will now stand exempted. Lithium-ion battery. To the list of exempted capital goods, I propose to add 35 additional capital goods for EV battery manufacturing and 28 additional capital goods for mobile phone battery manufacturing. This will boost domestic manufacture of lithium-ion batteries, both for mobile phones and for electric vehicles. Shipping sector. Considering that shipbuilding has a long gestation period, I propose to continue the exemption of BCD on raw materials, components, consumables, or parts for the manufacture of ships for another 10 years. I also propose the same dispensation for shipbreaking to make it more competitive. Telecommunication. To prevent classification disputes, I propose to reduce the BCD from 20% to 10% on carrier-grade Ethernet switches to make it at par with non-carrier-grade Ethernet switches. Export promotion. To facilitate exports of handicrafts, I propose to extend the time period for export from 6 months to 1 year, further extendable by another 3 months if required. I also propose to add 9 items to the list of duty-free inputs. Leather sector. I propose to fully exempt BCD on wet blue leather to facilitate imports for domestic value addition and employment. I also propose to exempt crust leather from 20% export duty to facilitate exports by small tanners. Marine products. To enhance India's competitiveness in the global seafood market, I propose to reduce BCD from 30% to 5% on frozen fish paste, surimi, for manufacture and export of its analog products. I also propose to reduce BCD from 15% to 5% on fish hydrolysates for manufacture of fish and shrimp feed. In July 2024 budget, to promote development of domestic MROs for aircraft and ships, I had extended the time limit for export of foreign origin goods that were imported for repairs from 6 months to 1 year and further extendable by 1 year. I now propose to extend the same dispensation for railway goods. Time limit for provisional assessment. Presently, the Customs Act 1962 does not provide any time limit to finalize provisional assessments, leading to uncertainty and cost to trade. As a measure of promoting ease of doing business, I propose to fix a time limit of 2 years, extendable by a year, for finalizing the provisional assessment. I propose to introduce a new provision that will enable importers or exporters, after clearance of goods, to voluntarily declare material facts and pay duty with interest but without penalty. This will incentivize voluntary compliance. However, this will not apply in cases where department has already initiated audit or investigation proceedings. For industry to better plan their imports, I propose to extend the time limit for the end use of imported inputs in the relevant rules from 6 months to 1 year. This will provide operational flexibility in view of cost and uncertainty of supply. Further, such importers will now have to file only quarterly statements instead of a monthly statement. I now come to my direct tax proposals. In Part A, I have briefly underlined taxation reforms as one of key reforms to realize our vision of Vikasit Bharat. In respect of criminal law, our government had earlier ushered in Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, replacing Bharatiya Danda Sanhita. I am happy to inform this august House and the country that for new income tax bill will carry forward the same spirit of Nyaya in its drafting as well. The new bill will be clear and direct in text, with close to half of the present law in terms of both chapters and words. It will be simple to understand for taxpayers and tax administrators, leading to tax certainty and reduced litigation. Reforms, however, are not a destination. They are means to achieve good governance for our people and economy. Providing good governance primarily involves being responsive. The Tirukural captures this in verse 542, which reads, "Vaanokki vaazhum ulagallam, mannavan kol nokki vaazhum kudi," meaning, just as the living beings live expecting rains, citizens live expecting good governance. Our government is committed to keeping an ear to the ground and a finger on the pulse and responding while balancing our national building efforts. The following measures will detail just how our government will, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address. I repeat that sentence, sir. The following measures will detail just how our government, under the guidance of PM Modi, has taken steps to understand and address the needs voiced by our citizens. My tax proposals are guided by this spirit. The objectives of my proposals are as follows. Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Rationalization of TDS and TCS for easing difficulties. Encouraging voluntary compliance. Reducing compliance burden. Ease of doing business. Employment and investment. I will come to my proposal on personal income tax towards the end. TDS and TCS, rationalization for easing difficulties. I propose to rationalize tax deduction at source, TDS, by reducing the number of rates and thresholds above which TDS is deducted. Further, threshold amounts for tax deduction will be increased for better clarity and uniformity. The limit for tax deduction on interest for senior citizens is being doubled from the present 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. Similarly, the annual limit of 2.40 lakh rupees
for TDS on rent is being increased to 6 lakh rupees. This will reduce the number of transactions liable to TDS, thus benefiting small taxpayers receiving small payments. The threshold to collect tax at source, the TCS, on remittances under RBI's liberalized remittance scheme, the LRS, is proposed to be increased from 7 lakh to 10 lakhs. I also propose to remove TCS on remittances for education purposes, where such remittances is out of a loan taken from a specified financial institution. Both TDS and TCS are being applied on any transaction related to sale of goods. To prevent such compliance difficulties, I propose to omit the TCS. I also propose that the provisions of the higher TDS deduction will now apply only in non-PAN cases. In July 2024, the delay for payment of TDS up to the due date of filing statement was decriminalized. I propose to provide the same relaxation to TCS provisions as well. The government under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi believes in Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas. In line with this, we brought in updated return facility in 2022 for voluntary compliance by taxpayers who had omitted to report their correct income. Our trust in taxpayers was proved right. Nearly 90 lakh taxpayers voluntarily updated their incomes by paying additional tax. Taking this trust further, I now propose to extend the time limit to file updated returns for any assessment year from the current limit of 2 years to 4 years. I propose to reduce the compliance burden for small charitable trusts and institutions by increasing their period of registration from 5 years to 10 years. It is also proposed that disproportionate consequences do not arise for minor defaults such as incomplete applications filed by charitable entities. Presently, taxpayers can claim the annual value of self-occupied properties as nil only on the fulfillment of certain conditions. Considering the difficulties faced by taxpayers, it is proposed to allow the benefit of 2 such self-occupied properties without any condition. To streamline the process of transfer pricing and to provide an alternative to yearly examination, I propose to introduce a scheme for determining arm's length price of international transaction for a block period of 3 years. This will be in line with global best practices. With a view to reduce litigation and provide certainty in international taxation, the scope of safe harbor rules is being expanded. A number of senior and very senior citizens have very old national savings schemes accounts. As interest is no longer payable on such accounts, I propose to exempt withdrawals made from NSS by individuals on or after 29th August 2024. I am also proposing to allow similar treatment to NPS Vatsalya accounts as is available to normal NPS accounts subject to overall limits. In my speech in July 2024, I had promised that all processes, including giving effect to appellate orders, shall be digitalized and made paperless over the next 2 years. So I'm happy to announce that digitalization is being made operational now. In July 2024, we brought in the Vivad Se Vishwas scheme to resolve income tax disputes pending in appeal. The scheme has received a great response, with nearly 33,000 taxpayers having availed of the scheme to settle their disputes. I have a few proposals to promote investment and employment. It is proposed to provide a presumptive taxation regime for non-residents who provide services to a resident company that is establishing or operating an electronics manufacturing facility. I further propose to introduce a safe harbor for tax certainty for non-residents who store components for supply to specified electronics manufacturing units. Presently, the tonnage tax scheme is available only to sea-going ships. The benefits of existing tonnage tax scheme are proposed to be extended to inland vessels registered under the Indian Vessels Act 2021 to promote inland water transport in the country. extension for incorporation of startups. We continue to support the Indian startup ecosystem. I propose to extend the period of incorporation by 5 years
to allow the benefit available to startups which are incorporated before 1/4/2030. In order to attract and promote additional activities in the IFSC, I am inter alia proposing specific benefits to ship leasing units, insurance offices, and treasury centers of global companies which are set up in IFSC. Further, to claim benefits, the cut-off date for commencement in IFSC has also been extended by 5 years to 31/3/2030. Category 1 and Category 2 AIFs are undertaking investments in infrastructure and other such sectors. I propose to provide certainty of taxation to these entities on the gains from securities, to promote funding from sovereign wealth funds and pension funds to the infrastructure sector. I propose to extend the date of making an investment by 5 more years up to 31st March 2030. Personal income tax reforms with special focus on middle class. Democracy, demography, and demand are the key support pillars in our journey towards Vikasit Bharat. The middle class provides strength for India's growth. This government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, has always believed in the admirable energy and ability of the middle class in nation building. In recognition of their contribution, we have periodically reduced their tax burden. Right after 2014, the nil tax slab was raised to 2.5 lakhs of rupees, which was further raised to 5 lakh rupees in 2019 and to 7 lakh rupees in 2023. This is reflective of our government's trust on the middle class taxpayers. I am now happy to announce that there will be no income tax payable up to income of 12 lakh rupees. So, average income of 1 lakh per month, other than the special rate income such as capital gains, under the new regime. This limit will be 12.75 lakh for salaried taxpayers due to the standard deduction of 75,000. Slabs and rates are being changed across the board to benefit all taxpayers. The new structure will substantially reduce the taxes of the middle class and leave more money in their hands, boosting household consumption, savings, and investment. In the new tax regime, I propose to revise tax rate structures as follows: 0 to 4 lakh rupees nil, 4.8 lakh rupees to 4 to 8 lakh rupees 5%, 8 to 12 lakh rupees 10%, 12 to 16 lakh rupees 15%, 16 to 20 lakh rupees 20%, 20 to 24 lakh rupees 25%, and above 24 lakh rupees 30%. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of normal income, other than special rate income such as capital gains. I read that again. To taxpayers up to 12 lakh of income, other than special rate income such as capital gains, tax rebate is being provided in addition to the benefit due to slab rate reduction in such a manner that there is no tax payable by them. the total tax benefit of slab rate changes and rebate at different income levels can be illustrated with a few examples. A taxpayer in the new regime with an income of 12 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 80,000 rupees in tax, which is 100% of tax payable as per the existing rates. A person having income of 18 lakh rupees will get a benefit of 70,000 rupees in tax, that is 30% of tax payable as per existing rates. A person with an income of 25 lakh gets a benefit of 1,10,000 rupees, that is 25% of his tax payable as per existing rates. Details of my tax proposals are given in the annexure. As a result of these proposals, Honorable Speaker, sir, revenue of about 1 lakh crore in direct taxes and 2,600 crores in indirect taxes will be foregone. Mr. Speaker, sir, with this, I commend the budget to this august House.
Item number 2, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to lay on the table the following statements under Section 3(1) of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003, medium-term fiscal policy cum fiscal policy strategy statement and macroeconomic framework statement.
Item number 3, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to move for leave to introduce the Finance Bill 2025.
प्रश्न ये है कि विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करने की अनुमति प्रदान की जाए। जो सदस्य इसके पक्ष में हाँ कहें, जो सदस्य विरोध में ना कहें। मेरे विचार में निर्णय हाँ वालों के पक्ष में हुआ, हाँ वालों के पक्ष में अनुमति प्रदान की जाती है। माननीय मंत्री जी, अब विधेयक को पुनर्स्थापित करें।
Sir, I introduce the bill.
थैंक यू। सभा की कार्रवाई सोमवार दिनांक 3 फरवरी 2025 को प्राप्त 11 बजे तक के लिए स्थगित की जाती है।
That was the presentation of the much-awaited union budget, full budget for the Modi government 3.0 by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Host of areas where investments has been made for the vision of developed India by 2047, but the best of it she perhaps had kept for the last. But no income tax for personal income tax group. There's going to be no income tax for earning up to rupees 12 lakh. This is as per the new tax regime. So that is going to be the highlight, much talked about, much expected rebate and relaxation in taxation that people were looking for. Finance Minister indeed has given it to them in this budget. Sakal?
Especially when we're speaking about the expectations, relief to the middle class in terms of tax relief / reduction was one of the top priority areas, and I think she dealt with that aspect towards the end of a budget presentation, which actually means that more money in the hands of middle class. Let's quickly take a look at the operative portions of the budget and the focus areas. Focus to accelerate growth, Viksit Bharat vision, where there's going to be focus on poverty eradication, youth, farmers as well as women. These are the big takeaways.
The Finance Minister also announced Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, a new scheme for the empowerment of farmers. Union Budget 2025, Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana to cover 100 districts in the country. In addition to the reforms that have been unleashed for the benefit of the farmers, Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana will come into play. 1.7 crore farmers across the country are going to be benefited from this new scheme announced in the Union Budget 2025 by Finance Minister. India's growth and reforms, she says, set the stage for Sabka Vikas in the next 5 years.
In the next 5 years, the country will be provided with unique opportunities, wherein she also announced the Makhana Board. Makhana Board, which actually will be set up in Bihar.
host of development interventions for the East, particularly for the state of Bihar, to enhance processing and value addition. We know makhana production in Bihar traditionally is also an important input to enhance processing and value addition. Also, Kisan Credit Card facilitates loan for farmers. This is going to aid farmer empowerment in the agri sector.
Garib Youth, Annadata and Nari, that's how she began her budget presentation, where focus has been, as always, on Atmanirbharta mission for pulses as well, which means self-reliance India. Aspirations of the Viksit Bharat inspire us. These are the key highlights of the speech of Finance Minister. Viksit Bharat being central to the whole narrative, where 2025 budget is dedicated to some transformative reforms across various sectors. New schemes for new schemes have been announced, with a term loan of 2 crore for women in particular, in tandem with the women-led development vision of Indian government. First-time entrepreneurs from the lower middle class and the backward classes will also be benefited. Also, investment limit for MSME classification to be made 2.5 times, but turnover limit is also will see a spike.
Other highlights: new classification criteria for MSMEs, National Institute for Food Tech Entrepreneurship Management in Bihar to turn India into the food basket for the world. That's the vision. 5 national centers of excellence for skilling with global expertise have also been proposed. Over 100 new places to get regional airports. Udan scheme has been expanded significantly. 15,000 crore rupees fund for quick completion of about a lakh housing units. 10,000 seats also to be added in medical colleges across the country. As far as additional infrastructure in existing IITs is concerned, that is also in focus. IIT Patna in particular is proposed to be expanded.
Heal in India campaign will be launched. Part of this budget, short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers, including dairy farmers and fishermen. They are going to be benefited by such schemes, where FDI limit for the insurance sector will be seeing a spike to 100%. New income tax bill to be introduced next week. And also, new central KYC registry is going to be part of this budget. The key reforms that will be implemented, and revised fiscal deficit for the fiscal 2025 stands at 4%. 36 life-saving drugs exempted from basic custom duty. This is the pharmaceutical sector that we are looking at. Where also, besides that, indirect tax measures will see good promotion of experts. Limit for tax deduction for senior citizens has doubled to rupees 1 lakh. Annual limit of rupees 2.4 lakh for TDS on rent, which is raised to rupees 6 lakh, and no income tax payable. That's the good news on income up to rupees 12 lakh, as Shubhendu just spoke about. Shubhendu.
We're scanning through the highlights of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's speech. Host of areas where intervention has been made with the larger vision of creating a developed India. And Shama Mishra, our correspondent, a colleague in Mumbai, joins us at the moment. Shama, several takeaways, but one that was perhaps most anticipated. No income tax up to rupees 12 lakhs. Take us through how the budget provisions are being received in Mumbai and elsewhere. All right, we'll connect with Shama in just a bit. As we mentioned, host of areas where interventions have been made for a 360-degree development plan. At the end, she also mentioned about the most, perhaps most exciting tax proposal, no income tax for individual personal taxpayers for up to rupees 12 lakhs. Also, we are scanning through the highlights about, this is the old tax regime, 8 to 12 lakh 10%, 12 to 16 lakh 15%. Tax regime. These are the tax slabs which will come into force in the coming financial year. 16 to 20 lakh rupees, 20%. 20 to 25 lakh rupees, 25%.
Which means more money in the hands of middle class, where we see a big reduction of tax for the middle class.
Above, above rupees 25 lakhs is 30%.
Yes.
If you look at the new tax regime, we'll see the manner in which this new exciting tax proposal comes into play. Under the new tax regime, tax on income up to rupees 4 lakh is 0%.
Besides the tax benefits auguring well for the middle class, from 8 to 12 lakh income group, 10% tax and rupees 12 to 16 lakh, we're looking at 15%. Rupees 16 to 20 lakh, these are basically the slabs, 20%, and 20 to 25 lakh income group, 25%. And those who have income about rupees 25 lakh, they're looking at 30% mark. So overall, good news when it comes to the tax rebate for middle class. And under new tax regime, there's going to be tax on income up to rupees 4 lakh. There's no tax on that. So 4 and below. Happy. Let's also take a look at the other big takeaways. Viksit Bharat inspires us, and many of these growth spurring schemes point in that direction. Aspirations of Viksit Bharat inspire us 2047. That's the bigger agenda. Developed India. Confidence in India's ability has grown. High points of Finance Minister's speech, aspirations of the Viksit Bharat being met there. She also, in fact, began, overall we can say, Shubhendu, a very futuristic and inclusive budget. She also spoke about how in the next 5 years there's going to be unique opportunities provided for India in various sectors. There's rationalization of tax, spurring economic growth. Those were the expectations. Most of them have been met. Of course, employment, relief to middle class, we talked about that, and also trust-based regulatory framework. New income tax bill, we're going to also examine those salient features with the experts in our studio. Yes, go ahead.
And these are some of the highlights of what Finance Minister just spoke about. New classification criteria for MSMEs. National Institute of Food Tech Entrepreneurship Management in Bihar. That has been presented. 5 national centers of excellence for skilling with global expertise. Over 100 new places to get regional airports. So expansion of Udan scheme in a significant manner. Rupees 15,000 crore fund for quick completion of 1 lakh housing units. Medical college infrastructure has also been expanded by some 10,000 seats that has been proposed. Besides additional infrastructure in IITs to increase the number of students. IIT Patna, Bihar in focus as far as development interventions are concerned in these elections. Heal in India campaign will be launched alongside also promoting tourism in the country. Short-term loans for 7.7 crore farmers. Once again, let's try and connect with our correspondent in Mumbai, Shama Mishra. Shama, I hope you can hear us now. Take us through how the budget proposals are being received, particularly the one about no income tax up to rupees 12 lakhs.
Shama.
Well, yes, Shubhendu. Now we were expecting that this time around as well.
36 life-saving drugs have been exempted from basic customs duty. Also 6 life-saving drugs, indirect tax measures to promote exports, where we see a limit for tax deduction for senior citizens, which has been doubled to rupees 1 lakh. So good news for senior citizens. Annual limit of 2.4 lakh for TDS on rent, which has been now raised to 6 lakh. No income tax payable on income up to 12 lakhs and aspirations of Viksit Bharat. These, in fact, now on your screens are the highlights of Finance Minister's speech. She's already presented the budget. She began with farmers making country food basket of the world. That's and this budget is going to be dedicated to the Garib. That means those below poverty line or downtrodden or marginalized sections of society. She spoke about youth. She spoke about Annadatta being the farmers and also Nari. Trust-based regulatory framework, there's been a thrust on that, and Viksit Bharat, which looks at, in a big way, eradicating poverty, more educational opportunities and employment opportunities for youth. Finance Minister also announced Dhanya Krishi Yojana, a big boost to the agro sector. And there's been also a push to infrastructure push. If we look at Shubhendu, an overall education sector, especially the IITs and IIMs, building on the National Action Plan on toys is also part of the agenda. Talking about farmers, 1.7 crore farmers will be benefited by these recently launched schemes. India's growth and reform set stage for Sabka Vikas in the next 5 years. That's the current government's mantra for the next 5 to 10 years. And Finance Minister also announced the Makhana board in Bihar. We'll talk about that as well and the significance of this, which will be set up in the Indian state of Bihar. Behind the lower fiscal deficit, there is also an expenditure squeeze. She talked about that as well. And also time to file tax returns has been extended. Rationalization of TDS, that was also part of the wish list that has also been brought in. And we are We will be in fact very quickly joined by some guest experts in our studios. We will be talking to them as well. Kisan Atmanirbharta mission for Pulse has been launched. So besides defense, we have self-reliance mission for Pulses as well, program to be spread over 6 years. There's a time-bound Prasanjit Basu, senior economist, is in our Delhi studio, and also welcoming Shubhomoy Bhattacharjee, senior economic journalist. I can see both of them smiling there, but starting with you, sir. Yes, has it pretty much met the expectations? We will specifically talk about tax later, but your overview, inclusive and futuristic?
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of the reduction in income tax rates, it, I think, goes beyond what expectations were. There's a dramatic reduction. The fact that income up to 12 lakh, that is 1 lakh a month, will be exempt from tax is a huge step. So it's actually, it's actually about 12.75 lakhs, in fact, that is exempt from tax. That is a massive step. There's a substantial reduction across the board in all tax rates, personal income tax, including the top rate being reduced to 30%. I think this is excellent. If India is to compete and if India is to attract back the NRI talent in technology, in sciences, even in things like finance, then reducing the tax rates is exactly the way to go. So I think that's futuristic. In terms of the spending aspects, there's a lot of focus on the agriculture, broad agriculture sector, which including things like food processing. I like the fact that Bihar gets a lot of focus. That is India's poorest state. You definitely need. I mean, the poorest state needs as many legs up as possible, and I think that as you see Bangladesh in political turmoil, there's an opportunity for states like Bihar, Orissa, West Bengal, Assam to attract a lot of investment from government and other manufacturers who are focused in Bangladesh and are being politically persecuted. So there's an opportunity there as well. So there is, in fact, a lot in this budget that is very, very positive. I think markets will respond very positively to it. And also, I like the fact that there's a very focused attempt at reducing customs duties, reducing the inversion of customs duty rates to encourage manufacturing and value addition. So I think those are the real major focus areas. Customs duty reduction as a means of plugging India into global supply chains, and of course substantially reducing income tax rates in order to provide a substantial boost to private consumption. Private consumption has been relatively weak. We need that to pick up, and I think this budget provides all of that.
Okay. Yes, I welcome my colleague Mark to take this broadcast forward, because Mark has been keenly not following this budget, of course, but previous budgets as well. But Mark, your take first, pretty much in continuation to previous budgets, but overall Viksit Bharat mission central to various reforms and initiatives that have been launched, especially in fresh sectors, emerging sectors.
Clearly there is a direction in the budget. There have been engines that have been identified: agriculture, MSME, investment and exports, and of course big push to consumption. The middle class was wanting something. This is the budget that they've got. 12 lakhs is the exemption amount. It's huge. Lots of people will feel that relief, and they'll put that money into various things which will lead to an increase in demand, which will also increase supply and improve our growth. Hopefully, let's turn to Mr. Shubhomoy Bhattacharjee to get his inputs on that. So, I mean, yesterday, in fact, we spoke a little bit about demand pull, right? Yes. So you think this is going to really be a massive pull?
Is your wish list met?
My wish list was in terms of the technology sectors.
Okay.
We are, in fact, as Mark was right, pointing out, we have a huge challenge coming up globally. Look at the way things are changing in USA. Look at the way things are changing on the artificial intelligence. So the budget needed to give that sense that while consumption, obviously we'll have a lot to talk about, but whether the technology sectors, those have been adequately addressed, sprinkled with. So where I see the technology sectors, sectors like the deep tech fund of funds,
Right.
the manufacturing mission with climate friendly technology, the AI centers of excellence which have been further pushed up, and most important, I would say within that is the push for the nuclear power. The finance minister said that we want 5 small modular reactors to be in place by 2033. The Civil Nuclear Act will be amended. These are very major statements of intent in terms of what the central government wants to do in terms of pushing both the technological paradigm as well as financing it. The asset monetization plan, which has been renewed for the 5 years, I think that's an important thing. The PPP, the 3-year pipeline for projects, these are what investors would wish to know. That do we have strong investment ideas coming out of the budget? Because remember, there's a budget that's going to be the blueprint for the next 5 years for this government. So essentially, do we have that space? Have we thought through the investment plans for the government going forward?
Indeed. Talking about investment, Mr. Basu, this budget didn't seem to mention anything about capital expenditure, but then, the asset management, asset monetization is a process of getting in another 10 lakh crore rupees for the next 5 years. But then if you looked at the receipts and expenditure statement there, it says that CapEx has gone up to 15 lakh crore rupees. That's a significant amount, would you say?
That's a huge increase. So now I think the important thing here is that, to me as an economist, the first thing I look at is what is happening to the fiscal deficit. The fiscal deficit was projected to be 4.9% of GDP. It is now, the revised estimate takes it down to 4.8. The strongest quarter for revenue is still to come.
Yes.
If you look at the numbers up to December, I look at a 12-month moving average, it is already 4.9%, 12-month moving average.
Yes.
And in fact, if you look at the first 9 months of the fiscal year, only 56%. So 9 months is 75% of the fiscal year. Only 56% of the deficit has been hit. So you're very likely to get a number even lower than 4.8. But the point is that they are then going to reduce it next year to 4.4. I think it'll be even lower than that. It'll be much closer to 4, which is, from an economic standpoint, that is the most positive feature. The fact that you are seeing the fiscal deficit coming down quite rapidly. As an economist and a person of the liberal, of an economic liberal bent, I would have also preferred to see more action on privatization.
Right.
So there's nothing there. For the last 4 years, we haven't seen enough on nothing on privatization. Okay, anyway,
Mr. Basu,
asset monetization
is a process.
Okay. Asset monetization is a substantial thing. It doesn't catch the eye, but clearly it is continuing. It's a continuing process that was also announced by Nirmala Sitharaman 4 years ago. There are two aspects to her announcement: asset monetization and privatization. Privatization has been shelved, it looks like, but asset monetization continues.
Okay.
And that is helpful. And I think that the reduction in the whole structure of interest rates, of income tax rates, is very positive.
I think that's one of the biggest talking points of this budget. We will talk about that as well, but let's quickly cut across live to Mumbai, the financial capital, because we're getting some reactions, first-hand reactions from the industry, where markets open good today, Shama, but then, well, the up and down may continue. But over to you, what are you picking up? You're joining us live from CII in Mumbai, India's commercial capital. Over to you. Financial capital Mumbai. Let's see what Mumbaikas. Yes, go ahead.
We were listening to the entire broadcast, entire announcement, and towards the end, we started, getting that feeling, anxious feeling that are we not addressed? Is the middle income group still not getting addressed? But then comes a banger, and then 12 lakh, the announcement and the decision of exempting people who earn up to 12 lakh, that is totally tax free. That was something we were all looking forward to, and it was better than expected. What more industry is getting and how industry is reacting? We have Rishi Kumar Bagla with us. He is the Deputy Chairperson of CIA Western Region. Let's talk to him. Sir, your initial reaction and how would you say the budget was?
The budget was absolutely perfect for the aspirational India. I would say that because our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has given a target that India has to become a Viksit Bharat by 2047. And in order to become a Viksit Bharat 2047, we have to take a directional budget. And this budget has been absolutely in that direction. Because if we have to become Viksit, we need to do two things. We need to spur the domestic demand, and we need to be globally competitive as far as manufacturing is concerned. And in this budget, I can see very clearly, to spur the global demand, a huge impact has been given to the rural areas and the agri sector, so that ours being an agrarian economy, large part of our population is still involved into agriculture. They will have more money in their hands. And so also the other part of the salaried income people, where a salaried person drawing up to 12.75 lakh rupees per annum will have to pay no tax. Now this is an absolutely fantastic move, giving a lot of money into the hands of the masses, because it is the masses that will spend. And that is how the manufacturing will grow, that is how the employment will grow, and that is how India will become competitive. Apart from this, a lot of measures have been taken by this budget to ensure that India becomes competitive by way of ease of doing business, by giving more money in the hands of the people, by innovation, and providing a lot of impetus on skilling and employment. This would make India in the right direction, going towards a Viksit Bharat. And this is what I say, a budget we want. India, we want budget.
All right. So Sakal, yes, industry has approved, and the markets also, if you're talking about markets, the markets are actually flat right now, somewhere around 0.40%, 0.44%, around both BSE and NSE, they are trading at that. So the market has not, either it's not disapproved nor approved, but it's a flat position. So overall, we could say Mumbai has approved of it, common person, common man has approved of it, and
disapproved or not approved. In fact, let me take that point to Prasenjit ji. Yes, you're also smiling there. So, well, is it, are we just, jumping the gun when it comes to quick market reaction to the whole budget presentation and the decisions or schemes?
The market is always a bit confused. So, the first thing
is that there was time to settle.
The market rose sharply and then has fallen off. So, at the moment, it looks almost flat. Which is actually, to my mind, a somewhat surprising reaction, given that we have a substantial reduction in the fiscal deficit. From a market standpoint, the most important, and especially from the standpoint of monetary policy, RBI is going to be meeting next week. So they, I think, will be enthused by the fact that the fiscal deficit is coming down, supposed to be 4.4% of GDP in the next fiscal year. In my view, it will be even less than that, but we're on a path to substantial reduction in the fiscal deficit. That will give comfort to the RBI and allow the MPC to cut rates, as it has almost hinted that it will do at next week's meeting. So, if the markets are not yet enthused, then by the time the MPC meets and after it announces the decision on Friday, hopefully the market will respond positively. But I think for consumption, for private consumption to pick up, you do need to see some reduction in personal income tax rates. That should provide a boost. And I think a lot has been done in the budget to provide support to various aspects of the rural economy. So rural consumption is already doing reasonably well this year. It'll get a further boost from this. And urban consumption has been relatively weak over the past year. That, I think, will get the boost from reduction of personal income tax rates. So, from an economic standpoint, this budget is a clear positive.
Indeed, and we have with us Dr. Rajat Kathuria, Dean and Professor of Economics at Shiv Nadar University. Thank you for being with us. Let's look at it from, maybe the markets are missing the fact that CapEx was not publicly, personally announced by the finance minister. Last time she made a big announcement right at the start of her budget. This time the big announcement seems to be the 12 lakhs, tax exemption limit. What do you think? I mean, where is the money coming from for infrastructure development?
So I think the markets sort of are, immediately they go up. But once the details come through and they recognize where the rupee is coming from, where the rupee is going, I think there's a little bit of a moderation. So over time, I think as Prasenjit is saying, over time, the market will probably be able to absorb sort of much more of what is written in the budget. Plus, I think the budget is one place where the finance minister announces reforms for the economy, where the rupee is coming from, tax rates, rationalizations, customs duty rationalization, asset monetization plan. I think that's one place. And I think the details, the I's will be dotted and the T's will be crossed over a period of time. The budget is not the only place where reforms happen. So one will be able to identify where the money is going to come from. But I think the overall message that is coming through in this budget is, I think, a continuation of what had happened in July last year. And the aim is to look at sort of a developed country in 2047.
Yes.
And there, I think the budget is high on rhetoric, but it's also high on detail. Right? So it's high on rhetoric and, make for India, make in India, heal in India. And I think those are the right noises because, of course, the finance minister has to provide a signal, or has to provide a narrative where we are going, and we are going towards the Viksit Bharat in 2047. And I think Viksit Bharat in 2047 is a grave sort of challenge for us, and we should try and achieve what we can. But I think that's the narrative that has come through. And then there are details. What is missing for us to be a developed country? What is in India that you see today that sort of is a challenge to being recognized as a developed country? So you go to your cities, you go to middle class, you look at governance, you look at the quality of life. All these are inputs into a developed country. And I think coming back from sort of a global view to what the budget is trying to do in this regard is that urban governance, of course these are things that needed to be done long ago, but I'm glad that these are happening now. Urban governance, there's something in urban governance. There's something on governance, very importantly, both on city governance, on general governance, as well as on tax administration. There's a lot that the finance minister has spoken about, how important governance is. Now, when you look at a developed country, you recognize it. When you look at India, does the image of a developed country come into your mind? I would say not now. But what are the things that need to improve?
But we are on course.
We are on course. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And I think we are moving at a very fast pace and accelerated growth. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. We have one more special guest standing by there at the CII headquarters there in Mumbai, India's financial capital. Shama, over to you. And that part on the urban governance and industries thumbs up on the measures, the new measures, especially in the emerging sectors. If you remember, we spoke about that in the morning prior to the budget presentation. So are Mumbaikars in general and the industry captains in particular happy?
They are happy. They are definitely happy. And as you and me are wearing a green color, we could say this is a green flag, and we did get a good budget this time around. Well, we are also talking about, something about the MSMEs. And earlier in the morning, when we had spoken, we did speak about how India is wanting to establish itself as a global competitive, hub. And MSME plays a very important role. We also spoke about MSME. Now we have an MSME person with us. He's an expert. We have Sudhir Mutalik with us. He's the founder and managing director of, founder and CEO of Positive Metering Pumps, and he'll speak about MSMEs. So, sir, MSMEs have gotten a lion's share, I would say. How do you see this budget, and what really changes from here?
I'm really happy after many years. I mean, Minister has focused 4 engines of economy, And in that, MSMEs are brought on the surface. There is a special thrust on MSMEs. She has realized, she kept on talking about how MSMEs are important. I am really happy that MSMEs are now given importance, and especially manufacturing sector. I mean, redefining the MSME itself is a very interesting phenomenon by raising the limits to 2 or 2.5%. That is something really great, which means more is expected from MSME. MSMEs more, are supposed to create more jobs. So naturally, there is an encouragement to MSMEs. Credit guarantee limit is increased from 5 crore to 10 crores. For startups, from 10 crore to 20 crores is really encouraging. Of course, at the same time, Minister has removed the tariff of 7 tariffs are removed. So I don't know how much industries, MSMEs especially, will be protected. But overall, I think it's very encouraging. The second important point is, we can see after many years of budgets that the focus is given on nuclear power generation. About 100 gigawatt is supposed to be generated by 2047, and for that there is a provision of around 20 crores to establish 5 small modular reactors. This will create many opportunities for MSMEs, or establishing a urea plant in Assam. This will create many opportunities for MSMEs. So I think this is a very encouraging budget for MSMEs in India, and I hope this will mainly help in creating more jobs.
Okay. So Sakal, yes,
Yes.
he has mentioned, and he has mentioned the point of view of MSMEs. And as he was speaking, that MSMEs can play a larger role when it comes to producing smaller equipments or necessary equipments for the large manufacturing. Now we are also talking about startups over here. Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister, she has laid thrust on the startups also, and how the innovation, R&D, and everything will play an important role in putting India at that global map. Over here also, we could say that these startups, earlier at for an example, if a person who has that space background from IIT, he goes into ISRO or similar organization, they would usually get a chance 10 years or 15 years into that particular job. But now, since startups and the entire ecosystem have gotten such a great ecosystem rather, so the person who's just started his startup can actually contribute to the nation's development, and especially when you're talking about the security, national security, and everything, which is very important.
Yes.
So the thrust laid on MSMEs,
We
startups,
will
is
come to
really
you in a
great,
bit.
and particularly we are
Yes,
talking about
Shyama
this
Mishra, we'll
particular
come to you
budget.
in a bit, but this whole question about the National Manufacturing Mission and how it's going to really aid clean technology, I will take one comment, but before that, now the reactions have started coming in very fast. First one